It's a perfect fall day. Hey, on a day like this, there's only one thing to do, and that's road trip. So we're packing up the truck, we got the dog, and we're headed over to Lancaster County. And we're going to pick apples. Lots of apples. What are we going to do with all those apples? I don't know. Well, yeah, I do. We're going to make apple crisp. A nice dish of hot apple crisp. Stay tuned.
Alright, so now we're over here in the Fuji's, and they're pretty good. A little more tartness to them. These will be nice for pie, eating, apple crisp.
I'm Mike the Stuber, and welcome to another episode on my YouTube channel. So it's fall harvest time, and one of our favorite things to do during fall harvest is to go pick apples. And so what do we do when we go pick apples? What are we going to do with all the apples that we pick? One of the things that I like to make, because it's easy, and it's all about easy with me, is apple crisp. Now, if you like apple pie, but you're horrible at making the crust like I am, apple crisp is the way to go. So one of the other good things about picking your own apples is you save a lot of money. I'm going to give you a great example. Last week at the orchard that we went to, we picked 2 huge bags of apples. And we're in line, we're getting ready to check out, and this lady comes by who bought the apples in the actual store, the farm store there. And she had a container, and it definitely didn't have as many apples in it that we had in our one bag. And her one basket alone was $49. $49 for all of the apples that we bought. 2 huge bags, and keep in mind one of our big bags was bigger than her one container. We paid like $42. So you save a lot of money picking your own apples. And fresh apples, there's a big difference between a fresh apple and an apple that you bought in the store that's been sitting on the shelf or sitting in the fruit and vegetable display for who knows how many days, and how many days it was in the back, and how many days it was on a truck or wherever it came from. There's a huge difference in a freshly picked apple and what you buy in the store. So keep that in mind when apple picking season. You really should get out there. If you have an orchard close by, get out there and pick your own apples. It's fun. It's a great family thing to do. We love doing it. And guess what? Now I'm going to get hard after this, probably right about now. But when you go to pick your own apples, you can eat all the free ones you want. I mean, think about it. It's right there. They're not, the ones that you eat, they're not going to weigh. Free apples, right? My wife doesn't like that too much, but I do it anyways. So to tie this in with the Navy, apple crisp is one of those items that anybody can make, and in a pinch you can whip it out in as little as 30 minutes. Now, in the Navy, our bakers work nights, and the worst thing you want to do is, if you're running out of pastry and towards dinner time or towards the middle of dinner, and the last thing you want to do is go wake up the baker and say, hey, I'm running out of stuff, go make, I need something made. So what we do is the easy thing. We go and grab a number 10 can of apple or cherry pie filling. We make a streusel topping, throw it on top, pop it in the oven. 30 minutes later it comes out, and you have a wonderful homemade dessert that will bring you back to your grandma's house. All right, so let me go over the ingredients for our apple crisp. First of all, we got our apples. Now, these are Fuji apples, and if you're gonna make apple crisp or an apple pie, you probably want to use a Granny Smith or a Fuji, something that has a little tartness to it. We have what is right now is 3 pounds, but by the time I'm done coring and cutting them all up, we're gonna end up with about 2 pounds of apples. So you basically got 2 components to the crisp. You've got the filling, and then you got the streusel topping. So I've got 2 pounds of apples here. I've got a teaspoon of cinnamon, 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, and a half a cup of sugar, and what will be 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. So that'll make up our filling. For our streusel topping, we have 1.5 cups of rolled oats. We have half a cup of packed brown sugar. We have 1 cup of all-purpose flour, a teaspoon of salt, and I'm using sea salt, coarse salt, doesn't really matter. And I have 12 tablespoons of melted butter. Now you could use unmelted butter and you'd have to cut it into your flour. I like to use melted butter, and the reason why I use melted butter with my streusel topping, because it kind of like flattens it out, evens out the streusel topping. I kind of like it kind of compact and a little bit of crusty, so that's the reason why I use melted butter. All right, so I'm going to move things out of the way here, and then we'll get down to preparing our apples. Okay, so now we're going to start prepping our apples. I got my my apple wedger here, so I'm just going to go ahead and start cutting through my apples. I love this little thing, and if you notice, I'm not peeling my apples. You don't need to do that. People are leaving peels on things these days. You know, why peel away vitamins and fiber when you can keep the peels on? It saves time too. Alrighty, now that we have all of our apples cut up, what I'm going to do now is add a little lemon juice, 1 tablespoon. That will help prevent the apples from browning. In there, going to add our cornstarch, cinnamon, salt, and our sugar. Now I'm going to mix this all up. And this will be our filling. Now the cool thing about this recipe, or this process, making apple crisp, is that you can save on cleaning. You can put your streusel topping ingredients in this bowl and make your streusel topping in here as well. Alright, so this is just about good enough to go into our baking dish. So what we're going to do is set that over here. And now I'm going to bring my baking dish over, and you need at least, let me get stuff off my hands first. Don't like stuff on my hands. You need at least a 9x9 baking dish. So obviously I have something a little bit bigger than 9x9. What I have here for apples is going to be the perfect size for what I need to put these apples in. You could take and add butter to the inside of this. I've got butter spray. So you want to definitely make sure that you coat your pan well, because you don't want your apples, your apple crisp burning and building up on the inside of your baking vessel. So this is nice and coated. I'm going to take our apples. So let me go this way for the camera. Dump the apples into our vessel. And this leftover cinnamon and sugar, and you put it right into our streusel topping. What I love about this. So we're going to add our flour, our brown sugar, our oats, our melted butter, and I don't think I actually said it earlier, but we're also going to do a teaspoon of vanilla extract. So about a teaspoon. Right there. Now you take this, making sure that you wash your hands prior to, like I do all the time. And we're going to mix our streusel topping up. And this is driving me crazy right now. I don't like stuff on my hands. I guess you could use a spatula or something like that. But all we're gonna do is take all these ingredients, mix them thoroughly, get that butter distributed all throughout the flour. And I just take this and I'll rub it between my fingers. Good. And that looks like a nice rolled out streusel topping right there. So let me wash my hands. I'll be right back and we'll get this topping on our apples. So before I add my streusel topping to the apple filling, and I just want to mention that this is one of those desserts that's fun for everyone from the entire family. I mean, you all went out and picked apples together. So this is kid friendly. Your kids can even make this. So, you know, get your kids involved, get them up there. I mean, everything that you saw me do is pretty easy. And kids love getting their hands in. Make sure they wash their hands first though, okay? But let the kids get in there and mix all that up. Because, you know, if there was a kid here right now, they'd be mixing this for me because I like stuff on my hands. I don't know if I said that earlier, but you know, it's pretty obvious. So anyways, kid-friendly meal. Involve the kids, the grandkids, and it's fun and it's tasty, especially at the end when you get the scooped ice cream on it. We'll talk about that later. All right, so we're gonna put our streusel topping on. I'm just gonna take this out and sprinkle this over and coat the entire bowl of filling, dish of filling. And this is going to melt down nicely, get all bubbly when it's baking. And when it comes out of the oven, oh my God, it's going to smell so good in here. I'm trying to get it in there. I'll keep pushing this down a little bit too. I'm kind of go rough at the top. Yeah, we're looking good. So all I got left to do now is throw this into the oven. I have an oven preset to 350 degrees. So we'll stick this in the oven at 350 degrees for about 50 to 60 minutes. Now, if you notice in the beginning of the video, when I was talking about the navy, I was saying, well, it took us just 30 minutes. Well, because we were using prepared pie filling. These are raw apples, so it's going to take a little bit longer to cook. So 50 to 60 minutes, 350 degrees oven, and it should be ready. So we'll be right back. So our apple crisp is ready. It's been actually over 50 minutes. It took about 60 minutes, and smelling great. I've actually taken it out and have let it cool down for about 10 to 15 minutes. And so before we actually dish this up, give it a taste. My shout out this episode is to all the food service attendants out there in the Navy, those that are currently serving and those that have done time in the galley. So you're probably wondering, what is a food service attendant? A food service attendant is a person that joins the Navy, usually right out of boot camp or A school, and they've reported aboard ship, and if they're not a cook and they're in pay grades E3 and below, they spend their first 90 days aboard ship down in the galley assisting the cooks in the food services division. And without their help, food service S2, S5 just wouldn't run as smoothly as it does. So as a food service attendant, in spending your first 90 days, it kind of comes as a shock and a surprise to them. You know, not too many people tell them that the first thing you're going to do when you go on board a ship is spend time in the galley. And a lot of them are like, well, I joined the Navy to be a torpedo man. What am I doing in the galley? Well, it's been lightweight since Moby Dick was a minnow, and but they provide a very important service not only to the crew, but to the cooks, and without them, food service would just kind of grind to a halt. And so, hats off to all you food service attendants out there, past and present. Thank you for all that you've done to help us cooks out. Without you, I don't know where we would be. Anyways, on to the apple crisp. And wow, it really smells good. I'm going to divvy some of this out. and put some of this French vanilla ice cream that we got from Turkey Hill. We actually stopped at the Turkey Hill Experience on the way out to the orchard, and they make some of the best ice cream around here. I'm not doing a commercial for them, just want to let you know, but we just like them, and especially their French vanilla ice cream. So I like to put on there. Some people like to let their apple crisp cool down even longer. I like to get the ice cream on there when it's still fairly hot. I like that ice cream to melt down a little bit, get creamy. I also take and put a little bit of cinnamon sugar on top, just for a little final touch. And let's go in for a taste. Not too big of a piece here. There we go. Wow. I'll tell you what. Maybe not as good as my wife's, but it's pretty darn good. This is fall. This is fall harvest. This is apple picking. This is the thing that you can make with your kids. So try it out. Get in there, make some apple crisp, apple pie. Maybe I'll do one on apple pie. I can guarantee I'll be buying a crust. Maybe not. Maybe I'll try. Anyways, if you like this video, please like it, subscribe, and most importantly, share it. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.